So, what's the target? The goal? The goal during a tropical event is to not need the items and procedures that we discussed in this presentation. However, being prepared is a good alternative and may make the difference between being a victim and being a survivor. On a personal note, from those who have been there, during the aftermath of Katrina, many suffered intense wind damage with trees through their roof and rain pouring through. Your prized possessions, though not as important as your very life, of course, should be taken with you. If you evacuate, and you can do so without compromising the essentials, take the things that are important with you. I want to personally thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It's our hope that you will never be in a situation where you will have to consider all the things we've discussed, but if you are, now you're prepared to be prepared and survive. For more information, go to normie.org or normieproetf.org or email us at support@normie.org. We're here to serve you. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, and we are back here at the Experience trade show in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am happy and privileged, actually, to be sitting next to an award winner from R&R Magazine, Lori Jones. So, Lori, I want to say hello and tell us about this award, because I was trying to read about it, and it's just more than I can explain it correctly.
It's actually the Women in Restoration, and you are nominated by colleagues, friends, family even, and they open it up for about a month, and there's usually a couple of hundred people that get nominated, and they go through a judging cycle, and they read everything about everybody, and then they choose from there, and I won.
Well, I was reading through the article, and let me just hold this up for everybody. Big article. That's her. You can see her. There's some pretty heady runner-ups that were in the group here.
They're amazing women.
I was reading about that, and so it's pretty impressive that you were chosen over them.
I'm very honored to be chosen. I'm very surprised. I mean,
really?
Yes, because I don't think since I'm doing something that I love to do, I don't think it's outside of the norm. So to me, it's just every day, and then to be recognized for it, it was just like, really? Thank you. Oh, wow. And you just, whenever I was saying thank you last night, I got really emotional because it just hit me how important this award was, or is, I should say.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us about the business that you're in and what you actually do, because again, I was trying to read through some of the titles, and there's a long list here of things that you're certified in, and the type of work you do, forensic restoration. Let's start with that. Tell people what that actually is.
Forensic restoration. I'm actually a certified bioforensic restoration specialist, and what I can do is I clean up after crime and trauma scenes and hoarding, mass casualties, WMDs, and I'm also a trainer with my husband Jeff, and so we teach people how to do these things too. And it's a microbial warrior, and that's basically what we do. We treat our business back home in Oklahoma as a business or as a ministry, because it's what it is to us. It's a ministry. And so we're going out to help people. So when they call us, they're not having a good day. I
understand that, and I've come across a lot of that, from my past and everything.
Yes.
But it's funny because sitting here talking to you, it's kind of like the mild-mannered reporter that rips off the mask and is now the superhero in forensic cleanup, crime scene cleanup, meth lab, stuff like that. You also do, right?
We're just now starting to dip our toes in the meth, but we were staying away from it because we wanted to specialize specifically on the forensic restoration right now, because we wanted to be able to get everything under our coats and be able to teach what we do and explain it the way it needs to be explained, and train people so that they will be safe when they do it.
Well, I know that you deal with a lot of high-end equipment too. And earlier I was over by your booth talking with you and Jeff, and somehow you guys got me to put on one of the helmets and breathing kits that you have. And this thing was pretty impressive. I mean, I've done a lot of work through the medical side and through the restoration side, where you're wearing N95 masks, half face masks, all kinds of PPE. But this is like next level stuff.
Mhm.
What is that thing I was wearing? It's a helmet and breathing apparatus all in one.
It is a max air unit, and what it is, it's a PAPR, and it's powered air purifying apparatus.
Resuscitator or
So,
something.
yeah, something like that.
Something like
My
that.
brain's not working right now, but it literally takes air and puts it in through the filter, and it goes over your face, so it's positive air. So you don't have to have a fit test. You can wear your glasses and you can have facial hair. So the men love it.
And I understand that because it's positive pressure, you can be in fairly contaminated environments, actually more contaminated than wearing just a regular N95 mask or even a half face mask,
Correct.
because it's protecting your eyes and everything else.
Correct.
Um, this is stuff that when we're talking, you said is also used in the medical community.
Yes.
See, I've never seen that, but how do they use it there?
Same way. They put them on, and if anybody were to sneeze at them, it wouldn't matter because they have a cuff over their face, and so that would protect their three holes: their eyes, ears, or eyes, nose, and mouth. So it protects your three orifices,
Mhm.
and so you're protected. And like I said, it goes through a high efficiency filter, so it won't go through that filter.
So medical grade type filtration, for all the nasty stuff that's out, even like when COVID was
Correct.
really a thing, it would be
Yes.
protective for that.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting because I know that a lot of our people through emergency services, medical services, I mean, they were wearing 2 and 3 masks at a time,
Hmm.
trying to protect themselves. And it sounds like this is something that does it all by itself.
Yes. And plus, with those masks, people were getting rashes around their faces because it would irritate their skin. You don't have to worry about that with this.
Okay. Well, again, I was wearing it. I know Doug took some pictures of me. I'm afraid to see what he did with those, but I'm sure we'll find out in the near time. So what do you have planned next? You already won the guess the Woman of the Year in Restoration Award here. What's next?
Just get more and more people trained to do their job safely. That's our goal.
And where are you located?
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Is that where you teach, or do you guys teach
No,
all
we
over?
teach pretty much everywhere that has
Okay.
a facility that can actually accommodate what we do, because there's some facilities we use real blood and real brains from the people that the butchers, not butchers, but the places.
Talking about
where-
animals,
Yes,
Yeah.
animals.
not people. You're not digging
No,
up graves.
no, we're-
Okay. Take it to
So-
a whole new level. That way,
Right.
yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll put it on walls, and that's how we train. So you're actually getting in there and you're cleaning up these substances off the walls and floors or wherever we had put it, and then we test you. So
Okay.
it's real live
Is
stuff.
there a special certification for this?
For
For forensic type of cleaning and stuff?
because there's a certified forensic operator, then there's a bioforensic or certified forensic restoration specialist, and then a certified bioforensic restoration specialist after that. And we are also doing high risk, high level decontamination specialists, where we are training how to deactivate or where you take fentanyl and just destroy it, where it will not
Well,
hurt
fentanyl is such a
anybody.
big problem
It
right
is.
now.
It's a really big problem.
I know that's in crime scene cleanup and meth labs, fentanyl production and distribution, but also in the medical field. We were talking earlier about, patients wearing, 10, 12 fentanyl patches,
Yeah.
And just throwing them around, and now the contamination is everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. And I was talking to a relative of mine, and they were telling me that the way they get rid of their fentanyl patch, because they have issues, and we of course won't go into that. But there's a way you're supposed to fold them up and get rid of them. Of course, I didn't ask them how they did it, but if they're not disposed properly, yes, very big problem.
Yeah. And
And there's people that are just going to throw them off and throw them off.
oh, absolutely. And it's absorbed through your skin. So
Yes.
just accidentally coming in contact with it, picking it up, you can affect a lot of people.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, it sounds like you got some work cut out for you with
We
training like
do.
the rest of
And-
everybody buddy.
that we do is scientific based.
Mhm.
So it's not just like, we think it's going to work. We've actually talked to scientists and figured everything out with their help.
So is there a filtering program, going back to what you said earlier about who can take your classes because of the way that you teach your classes, you know, with real blood, real debris from animals and stuff like that?
Not really. You'll learn pretty quickly whether you're going to be able to do it or not. Because during presentations, we do show very graphic photographs, and we've had some people that actually got up at other room and walked out because they couldn't handle it. But usually the people that come are the ones that they think pretty much they're secure that they can do it, or if they've already done a couple of jobs and they just want to learn how to do it correctly.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk to about, or anybody online to send them a message, say hello, anything like that?
No, just I love my family.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here with us. And we'll have to chat some more. I would love to take one of the classes one day.
Okay.
So
That'd be
we'll talk.
awesome. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to welcome my guest today, Michael Pinto, who is the CEO of Wonder Makers. Now, I've known Mike for quite a few years, and we've done quite a few trainings together over the years and been at many conventions. And he is a wealth of knowledge when it deals with indoor environments as far as sensitized individuals. And that's the purpose of having him here today. The recent outbreak of forest fires in Canada has really changed what's been going on, at least in the central to the eastern part of the United States. Now, I know California has its own issues with wildfires, but that hasn't reached us to this point. But this is a new situation with these fires, with the winds coming out of the north and northwest blowing straight down into the major population areas of the United States on the eastern coast. So I want to bring Mike in here and let him say a quick hello. And if there's anything I missed on the intro, Mike, please let me know, and whoever else is watching this know also. So, Mike, say hello.
Well, thanks, Lance. I appreciate being here very much. What I would say, however, is that it's not just the eastern coast. That smoke plume from the Canadian forest fires is literally cutting across the good section of the Midwest, too. So here in Michigan, we're not quite as bad as you guys out there on the East Coast, but it's not good either.
Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, you're obviously further north and closer to the Canadian border than I am. I'm in New Jersey. Is it affecting you, and how is it affecting your area?
Well, yes, it is affecting us. And as I said just a moment ago, it's not good. Anytime you get outdoor air quality that's worse than what you typically get inside, that's a whole flip on the issue in terms of the things that we're used to thinking about and even teaching in a lot of our classes, because the standard line from the EPA is that the outside air can be up to 20 times cleaner than the inside air, and people spend 90% of their time inside, and so bad indoor air can cause a real problem. And a lot of us in the industry are focused on that, and then when we are faced with a situation like this where the outside air is dangerous to people, and that is the case, it is literally dangerous to people, then what do? Where do you go to hide, so to speak? So it is impacting us here in the Midwest. The way that it sets up, there's kind of like an arc of smoke that's coming down from Canada, and we're on what would be the left-hand edge of that arc here in Michigan. And Lake Michigan seems to be the borderline in terms of keeping the clean air over to Chicago and to the west, but right down through Michigan and Indiana and Ohio, and then over Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. The entire East Coast is pretty well hit right now by the residue from the forest fires.
Yeah, we've seen, especially wintertime with Lake Michigan, it creates its own weather systems. So I could see how that would become a border keeping the weather at bay or the smoke at bay in that part. But, what's really interesting is all the news stations, that's all they're talking about now, the unhealthy air conditioning outside and inside that we have to deal with. And, this is kind of like the dirty water glass scenario. We know it's in the outdoor air and the indoor air all the time, and you can't see it, so nobody pays attention to it. Well, not nobody, we do, the industry people do. But if you were to hand somebody a glass of water that had a brown tinge to it, it was discolored, people wouldn't drink it because they could see it and they would know there was things in there that they don't want to take in, even though it does contain, mercury and all kinds of other nasty contaminants regularly. And the same thing that's happening now with the air quality, people can see it. And that's really, I think, what's jumping out and causing people to really take notice to what's going on. You're absolutely right. Normally, the outside air is much better than the inside air. So when people are inside, they normally go outside to breathe better, and they can't in this case. They have to hide inside. So that brings us to the sensitized people that we were talking about. This is something that's, very close and dear to you. We deal with it on a daily basis here at Normie with people that can't get help from regular assessors, remediators, people that are in the industry, which is why you have a class. You're the lead instructor, the NCRSI class, the class for sensitized individuals. Actually, it's teaching remediators how to deal with them. And also the certified mold professional, which is expanding even beyond that. So those are two of your specialties. And with that, maybe you can answer this question. How come the outside air right now, obviously beyond people being emotionally reacting to it, so troublesome for sensitized individuals, even more so than regular people?
Well, what I would start off with is saying that I think when you're dealing with outside air like we are today, it's everybody has to be concerned about it. The difference is that the sensitized individuals have to be concerned at a higher level than even the normal folks. So I'm sure you've heard over there on the East Coast, they're canceling certain sporting events and outdoor activities and things like that because the air just isn't healthy. And so you want to be, limiting your amount of exposure, just like we tell people in a, water damaged or mold damaged house. Sometimes they have to get out of that house to protect their health. The problem here, of course, as we've been talking about, where do you go if it's the whole outside that's contaminated by the forest fires? And so we're literally looking at it, flipping the whole script upside down, if you will. We now have to think about the houses and the air in the houses being a refuge for the people from what they're potentially going to be exposed to on the out of doors. And for the sensitized individual, it's even more significant for them because a lot of times we talk about mold sensitized individuals, and that's where it starts. But virtually every sensitized individual that I'm familiar with and have worked with over 20 plus years now, they develop cross sensitivities. So they start out with a mold exposure that causes a decrease in their health, and then they become sensitive to other things. They become sensitive to tobacco smoke that they weren't sensitive to before. They become sensitive to some of the chemicals like, low levels of formaldehyde in the home that perhaps they weren't sensitive before. Perfumes, all sorts of things. They develop these cross sensitivities. And when we're dealing with the outside air that's impacted by the wildfires, it's particulates, it's volatile organic compounds, and it's gases. So if they're cross sensitive to anything, it's going to be in one of those categories, and then they're going to have problems with it. So that's really the issue.
I have a few calls into different contacts at different labs that we normally use, especially the ones that deal with VOCs, the volatile organic compounds. And I'm waiting on those callbacks that we just made recently. But I'm looking for what might be in this new smoke plume that we're getting that could be so offensive to people with and without sensitivities. I don't know if you know any of the chemistries that may be involved with this, though I have noticed the burning odor, and it's different than normal. This isn't like a wood fireplace or a fire pit.
Right, and some of that is going to be dependent upon what sort of forest are burning, whether they're hardwoods or evergreens, things like that. The evergreen forest, which is a good share of what's burning up in Canada right now, because they're closer to the Arctic Circle and that sort of stuff. So those are going to have a lot more PAHs, aromatic hydrocarbons in them, and that's from the oils and everything that's burning in the pine trees and the spruce trees and that sort of stuff. So then you're also going to get a whole chemical stew, if you will, from that, because depending on the temperature and whether they're exposed to actual flame or just the heat from it, where it is, whether it's protected by the bark, all these other things, you just get this massive amount of organic compounds that get liberated into the air during these fires. And then the ash and the smoke, which is basically both of those are small particulates, those tend to sometimes be even more airborne than the VOCs, because the chemicals can be a little sticky and a little heavy. But when they attach to these small ash particles, then they're transported, as we're finding out, thousands of miles into the airstream. The heat of the forest fire pushes them up a mile or more, and then they're in the airstream and they're heading downstream. But by the time that it gets to New York City or Kalamazoo, Michigan, where I am, or things like that, most of the gases, the carbon monoxide, the excess carbon dioxide, the nitrogen compounds and that sort of stuff, that's pretty well mixed and diluted. So the two things that are impacting the folks there on the East Coast and the sensitized individuals are mostly going to be those volatile organic compounds, which are those PAHs and particles. So,
on a small scale, I've been involved with emergency medical services for almost 50 years. And I've seen over the years people having severe reactions to being around a fire pit or a campfire. And when you start to look into it, you find out that it wasn't from the wood that they're burning. It was from the accidental dumping of poison ivy into the fire pit that was still around some of the logs. And as they burn the poison ivy, it's aerosolizing and getting encased in that smoke, and they're inhaling that and having severe reactions to it.
Well, and then think of everything else that's going on there. The PAHs I was talking about, the first word for the P is phenols. So there's all these different phenolic compounds that are getting burned up, and that's your oils, and that's your your irritants, like you were talking about with poison ivy. But remember, forest fires don't stay forest fires. I mean, they run across roads, and they literally will melt the tar on an asphalt road, and sometimes the roads actually start to burn. So now you've got all of that oil product, anything that's a building in the way, or a vehicle that gets trapped in the fire, or a house. Of course, you're going to have all of the man-made products, artificial products that there then burn. That all goes up in the air, and comparatively, that may be a small percentage of what's burning, but from the sensitized individual, that can actually be a bigger issue sometimes than just the individual smoke particles. Like you said, it's what attaches to the smoke particles. And then those smoke particles are so small, they get breathed in, they go deep into the lungs. And that whole combination, small particles going deep into the lungs and small particles carrying, pardon the expression, crap deep into the lungs, That's not a scientific term there, by the way, Lance. That's just a common term. But there's so much stuff that's on it. It's hard to know from breath to breath what's actually being taken in. And so, again, caution is the byword for anyone, but particularly for the sensitized individuals.
You know, in the remediation industry, in the meteorological industry, they refer to things, especially with hurricanes, hide from the wind, run from the water, because of the amount of damage that can be done. You can hide from the wind, take shelter of that, but in water you can't. Water's going to seep into everything. But we're dealing with something that's unique here because we're 1,000 miles away from these fires and we are severely being affected. So running isn't really a realistic situation. I think knowledge is something that would help. People understanding the risks, understanding, you know, well, maybe today's not the day to go outside and, you know, cut my grass, you know, and spend a good 2 hours or 3 hours out there in this serious weather or this heavy fog of smoke. And understanding that will definitely help people. But forecasting this is also an issue. So where could people go to find out how bad their area is and what their risks are to being outside?
Well, I'm sure everybody has their own favorite sources, and there's, you know, weather channels and local governments and state governments, and everybody's kind of jumping on the bandwagon. The one that I use, and it's just, again, my favorite because it's going to be there anytime you have these wildfires and stuff, is a federal government website, and that is, let me make sure I've got it here so that everybody knows, fire.airnow, as in AIRNOW.gov, fire.airnow.gov. And that one's really cool because you punch on that and it brings up a map of basically North America, and it shows where the plume is coming down with the smoke, where the air quality is being impacted, and then it rates it at each you know, major city, and it's not even just major, it's each you know, fairly significant size city has a dot on it that's either green, which means that it's good air quality, or yellow, which means it's questionable. And then most people think, well, then you get to red and that's bad. But this map actually goes 2 other levels. It goes to like purple and to black. And I looked yesterday, Lance had it, and knowing where you are in New Jersey, I just kind of looked to see where you are, blew it up to look and see in your location. You guys were black. So you're in the heart of it right now.
Yeah, yesterday was really bad. This morning it wasn't too bad, but then we did get an alert that it was going to be going downhill as the day went on. And looking outside now, in June, not a cloud in the sky, it looks like sunset. So, you know, it's that dark. I do have a question. If you were speaking to sensitized individuals as your customers or as a group, what would you tell them to do? I mean, normally, if they're inside their home and they're having reactions to that, they go outside. Now they have to stay inside. So what can they do now that they're in their environments that sometimes give them trouble anyways?
Well, I'm going to approach that from 2 different perspectives, if that's okay. The first one, and I don't mean to sound like I told you so, but you do have to understand, if you're a sensitized individual, it's important for you to take steps now to get your indoor environment clean, because we don't know when we're going to have situations like this where all of a sudden, with, you know, from no fault of our own, like you said, 1,000 miles away, they got a forest fire and it's having a serious impact on us. And if for some reason our sensitized individuals are saying, well, it's not that bad, and, you know, if it does get real bad, or if it gets damper in the house, I can always go outside, or whatever it is, that deferred maintenance or that deferred decision making really is going to have a serious negative impact on them in situations like this, because there may just be times where you can't get away, you know, get away from the problems in your house by leaving your house. You outside, you may be actually facing greater problems than you have in your house. So the first item is just never defer, fixing things that you can fix now until some later date, just because it doesn't seem important to you.
Well, it's the clean glass of water. It's not a concern because you don't see a problem. As soon as it's, brownish or discolored, now it's on your mind. Same thing with the air.
Yep, exactly right. But it would be the same thing. That's why they have, on occasion you'll have boil water orders as well, right? They don't know exactly what's wrong with the water system. And so they tell people to boil the water. That's why one of the things that they chat about even in front of hurricanes and things is get a few cases of bottled water so that you can survive, a couple of days if you have to without having water coming out of your tap. Fix your house. If you know you've got things going on in your house that are contaminants or whatever, get rid of those, fix it, do the remediation properly so that you've got a good, safe place to be. And then you can, potentially survive a little bit better during these outdoor air quality incidents. But putting that aside, because at some point that's water under the dam. Either they have fixed it or they haven't fixed it, but now they're still facing what's going on outside. So the first thing, and the first couple here, I'm just repeating the standard safety precautions that you're going to get from just about any site. If you don't have to go outside or you can limit your time outside, don't go outside and limit your time outside. If you do go outside, wear some sort of respiratory protection. I know that I'm seeing a lot of information where people are talking about, you can use your COVID mask and stuff like that. And the answer is, the face masks that were being sold as COVID protection, I won't get into that whole discussion all over again, but that is not going to be appropriate, particularly for the sensitized individuals. At a minimum, they're going to need like an N95, and we recommend N99 or N100 filtering face pieces. So that's going to protect a lot coming in. And remember too that a entry spot for some of this contamination into your body is not just the nose and mouth, but the eyes as well. And fire residue is even worse because of the small particle. So when those get into your eyes and then get diluted by the tears and everything, it actually releases some of those chemicals that are on the particle itself. So the particle may wash out, and get it out of our eyes and everything. But what is left behind and what's being absorbed in through your eyes is some of the chemicals and stuff. So remembering to wash your face when you come in from the outside, wearing a mask to protect yourself, changing clothes if you've been outside for any length, you're not carrying a lot of this stuff in. A lot of similar things that we would talk about if you're coming in from a moldy environment or trying to protect yourself from a moldy environment.
You mentioned about masks, and again, I agree. I don't want to go down that path and let's talk about masks, good or bad, but just to remind people that just because you're wearing a mask, whether it's an N95, N99, N100, half-face mask with cartridges, it doesn't protect you from the gases. You're getting filtration from particulates only. Now, that's a good and a bad thing, because especially if you are a sensitized individual, you may also have additional health issues and stuff. You're wearing a mask that's doing a good job filtering particulates. You're going to reduce the amount of air that you can actually breathe in without straining. And again, if you're not trained to wear a mask, if you're not trained to know when you need to take the mask off, when to replace the mask, it could be just as serious as not having a mask. So again, training, preparing, I guess, is kind of in the same thing that you were talking about.
Well, a little bit, although I would say in this particular case, as I mentioned earlier, by the time the contamination, goes 100 miles, 1,000 miles, whatever it is, the gaseous portions of that, we're not generally seeing high concentrations of carbon monoxide or even the elevated, levels of the nitrogen oxides and stuff like that by the time it hits like New York City or something like that. So wearing the filtering protecting mask is actually a very good step, because, as I said, even some of the phenols and the aromatic hydrocarbons, the volatile organic compounds, a lot of those are vapors. So that means that they're liquids that have been, the heat has evaporated and they're small droplets in the air. Then those droplets hang on to the particulates, and then the particulates get screened out by the mask. So that N95 is actually doing a fairly decent job stopping the vapors, which again have coalesced onto the particles and the particles. And then, as I said before, the gases have pretty much dissipated. So I'm rather optimistic that the filtering face pieces, at least the good ones, can be a real benefit to individuals, and particularly to people who are sensitized.
Well, that's a good piece of info for people to deal with. And again, if I just want to follow up, if you are wearing a mask and don't feel well, you may need to take it off, at least short term, and stop whatever activities you're doing. I think that's the real message. Try to get to where you feel comfortable and safe, and stay that way until this passes.
Yeah. So something else I'm going to throw in, not a lot of people know this or remember this, but if you're wearing a mask, you need to be intentional about improving your liquid uptake, meaning you need to drink more water, people. And part of that is because the mask not only does a good job screening these particles and stuff, but it does filter out some of the water vapor. And so therefore you're breathing drier air, and the drier air is going to allow whatever particles do get through to go deeper into your system. And by drinking more water, you're going to keep your mucous membranes, hydrated, and, a little bit more ability to collect some of those particles, and then even to flush them through your system. There's pretty good studies that show that people who are being exposed to wildfire smoke over a course of a few days will build up levels of different toxins in their body. And a lot of times that's just because they're not drinking enough water to flush them out. And I know several people, particularly in the naturopath and the integrated medicine field, who say green tea in particular, water and or green tea can be helpful in terms of just detoxing some of that stuff that's getting into your, first into your bloodstream and then into your internal organs and stuff, just because of the contaminants in the air.
Well, just kind of on a side note, going in a slightly different direction, and I agree with what you're saying, and I just wanted to mention that wildfires, forest fires, things like this are not the only thing that cause these types of contaminations in the air that affect people and sensitized individuals. If you remember back, we had some recent volcanoes that had erupted and put so much ash into the air. It was affecting people thousands of miles away. It grounded air traffic through Europe for around a week. So there's a lot of things that are in the air that are going to affect people, and the sensitized group many times over, even more.
So I want to pick up on that as well. I mean, one of the reasons that they ground airliners in situations like this, either because of the wildfire or the volcanoes, is because of the aggressive nature of those small particles, particularly as they're compressed and put through a jet engine. They can score and damage the insides of those to the point where they can actually have engine failure. And if you think about that, if these particles are corrosive enough that they're damaging stainless steel parts, they can't be good for our lungs. So just lots of warnings to us. There's plenty of evidence around, even just common sense evidence, that would tell us that we shouldn't be exposed to a lot of this. And you were asking earlier, some of the other things people can do. Obviously, if you have whole house HVAC and if you've got filters on the HVAC, you can run the HVAC system, even if you just run it on fan, because that, pushes the air into the house and through the system. And typically most home air systems and HVAC systems, unless they have a energy recovery ventilator or heat recovery ventilator or something like that, that's intentionally bringing air in. Typically those are, only bringing in 10% outside air. High efficiency furnaces, the ones that have the PVC pipes instead of like the chimneys and stuff, again, those are going to bring in minimal outside air unless they're on the heat cycle, where they bring in the air obviously to dilute the gases that are being created when they burn the gas or the oil for the furnace. So if you're on the air conditioning mode and you've got a high efficiency furnace and you've got decent filters on it, running that and just running it even on the fan on the on switch rather than on the auto switch should make a good difference. Now, I also want to point out the people who have portable air conditioners, window mount air conditioners, some of these other ones that have, pipes that go in and out and everything, what they call pack units, like you see on the wall of a hotel. Oof, that's tough because there's very little filtration on those. And that's a lot of times bringing in 10, 20, 30% outside air just automatically as you turn those on.
Well, most commercial buildings are spec'd that way. They have to bring in 15 to 20% fresh air. So they're dealing with those issues also.
And I'm not going to get into the whole discussion of the energy efficiency that may not be the energy efficiency, right. But they build the building so tight that they do have to bring in more of the outside air. And then in conditions like this, Lance, you know this as well as I do, they don't have the filtration on those big HVAC units like we have even on a smaller residential unit. So that's a tougher way to go on some of that. But at the same time, that brings up the last main point that I wanted to make, and that is that sometimes we can't rely, if you're a person or you're staying in a hotel because of, your job that took you there to New York City and all of this or whatever it is, sometimes you have to be a little bit more proactive, and particularly if you're sensitized. We talk about creating a refuge, even if you can't fix your whole house. Is there a bedroom? Is there a den? Is there a room in your house that you can turn into a refuge that's going to have better air quality and protect you? And this advance, I'm just blown away. The advance in the air purification systems, which we call proactive air purification, where you're not just relying on it to go through a filter to collect this stuff. You've got ionizers and one of the better ones I think is this multi-cluster ionization and things. These sorts of products can help create these reservoirs of clean air inside a building, so that even if you have to run the air conditioner and it's bringing in some of this contaminant and your filters aren't the greatest, at least you can protect yourself in a bedroom where you spend 8 hours a night when you're sleeping and things like that. That can be a big difference.
It's not a new concept. They teach and talk about that for hurricanes and tornadoes, to have a safe area in your home, a place that's protected from things coming through the exterior walls. Well, this is just taking it to another level where you're going to keep your breathable air as clean as possible.
Well, I like that analogy. You're in those cases, for a tornado. So here in the Midwest, we don't have the hurricanes as much, but it's a tornado. And that's exactly what they tell you. You need to have a secure location that in the case of a tornado, you can go into and be better protected from, the damaging effects of the wind. And in a situation like this, particularly the people who are already at risk because they're sensitized, they need to have, think about having that secure location from an air standpoint, just like we would think about having a secure location from a weather standpoint. And doing that with some of these proactive air purifiers. Heck, I was looking at the Best Living Systems website yesterday. They've got plug-in models. Literally just plug into an outlet and is enough to, have some air cleansing that's going on in a room size. They got ones that are the size of, like a sports bottle or a drinking glass that's designed to fit in a cup holder in a car to improve the air quality in a car. But you can plug those in and use those in a hotel room or in a bedroom or something like that. And these are not necessarily, super expensive items or anything like that. They're reasonably priced and they're worth it.
You know what? And everything you're talking about comes down to do something, improve your condition, be proactive yourself to try to take care of the environment you're in, stay in a healthier and a safer place during conditions like this. And it's going to happen more and more. We didn't really talk about statistics, but from the Weather Channel, they ran some stats yesterday saying that year to date, they have burned up in Canada and the US. Well, let me rephrase that. The yearly average for the US and Canada on forest fires is between 6.5 and 7.5 million acres. The fires so far to date in Canada are 9.3 million. So they're 50% over the yearly total of burned up forest and what it's putting into the air that we're all breathing and changing weather conditions around the world.
And we're in June.
And we're in June. And it's
That's
first
right.
going to get hot and the fire season is going to first come on. And then we got California to deal with and the West Coast. Prepare yourselves, people. Be proactive and take care.
Well, that's what I said. Just if there's things that you can fix now, fix them. If there's things that you can do to prepare for, because this supposedly this one from Canada, hopefully by the middle of next week, we'll have moved on with some shifting weather patterns. Don't just go back to normal and say, that one's over. I don't have to worry about it, because something's going to happen again. And those who are already suffering, those who are kind of on an edge health-wise, sometimes I talk to my clients about being literally almost like standing on a knife's edge. And we want to get you off of that edge so that you don't fall over into a worse scenario. And the way to do that is it's pretty tough to, have the proactive air purifier when you're in the middle of a problem. So you may have to get one now. Let me just also finish with this. I know it's the fire issues and everything, but I'm a victim of my own thinking, so to speak. Neither my wife or I both of us are blessed that we don't have a lot of mold sensitivities or anything like that, even with all the crazy work I've done in the industry. And neither one of us really have expressed a lot of allergies over the years. And this summer, or actually this spring, over the last couple of months, I noticed that my wife was feeling less and less normal, so to speak. And finally, when we dug into it, it was turned out that she was having some respiratory issues and some stuff like that. And the initial doctor visit was, it's a really awful pollen season. We never followed the pollen ratings or anything because she was never, identified as being allergic. And once we got the idea that she was, being impacted by the outdoor pollen, not something that was going on in our house, ended up getting one of the Chaos air purifiers that Normie recommends. And within hours, she was telling me that she was feeling better running that in the house. And within 2 days, she had already given it to her sister and made me buy her another one. So that's just how it
Okay, then. Well, the stuff works. And, that's the whole thing. And we always talk about, even, tongue in cheek, about you either have a good filter or you are one. And it's all about protecting that you are one. You want to have as much protection around you as you can. But we are going to end this segment. I do want to thank you for your time. And I didn't mention it earlier, but this is one of the segments that we're doing in a multi-part presentation on the seriousness of the wildfires, how it's affecting the U.S. and people with sensitivities, without sensitivities, and what they can do. So hopefully you'll tune in and some of the other segments as we show them. And I want to thank you again for your time. It's always great talking to you, Mike.
Bless you, Lance. It was good. I hope it was helpful for people.
Thank you. I want to welcome today's guests from Robert Pettyjohn Cleaning, Mr. Robert Pettyjohn and Katie Ruther. Guys, want to say a quick hello?
Hello there, Lance. It's a joy to join you and the millions watching on their computer.
Thank you, Robert. Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good, Lance. How are you?
Good, good. Well, let's get started here. And for those that don't know, Robert is one of our senior trainers. He's involved with our certified mold assessor, mold remediation training, and he does quite a few other things for us. So could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with this indoor air quality industry?
Well, Lance just started by cleaning carpets. My wife, Karen, and I were living in Kentucky at the time, and we were looking up at the light fixture on our ceiling and saying, we're going to be here the rest of our lives, or we're going to do something else. So we had an opportunity to go to Hawaii. So we sold everything we had and bought 2 one-way tickets to Kauai and sold jewelry on the beach for a couple of years. And then, like everybody should do, but then we had a little baby born over there. This little girl here to my right and to your left. Little Katie was born over there on Kauai, and we couldn't imagine raising her far away from my mom and daddy or Karen's mom and daddy, Mr. and Miss Chapman in Easley, South Carolina. So we came back to South Carolina, and I did a few odd jobs, and one thing led to another, and I felt the Lord lead me to come up here to Southeastern Seminary to get a PhD in world religions. But he obviously had other things in mind because we were stone cold broke when we got up here. I said, Lord, what are we going to do? I answered an ad in the newspaper that said, clean carpets, make $800 to $1,000 a week. I said, well, that'll pay a few bills. So I started doing it. It was a carpet cleaning company is what it was. So I started doing that. And then one thing led to another. And I realized that I didn't know everything I needed to know. So I went looking for some other resources. And fortunately, I found them. But that's how we got started. Cleaning carpets in 1989 here in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
We've talked in the past about diverse backgrounds and, where people are today and where they came from. So I just want to get this right. I'm visualizing it's the beach bum surfer becoming the doctor PhD, in a short trip.
Well, we did a little bit of windsurfing, but not that other stuff like they do in the pipeline in the North Shore of Oahu or any of these other big surfing venues. And I was accepted into the PhD program at Baylor University and also up here at Southeastern Seminary, but I never enrolled. We were just too broke, and I had to do something else. So I never became the doctor, but that's okay.
Well, I'll tell you, Katie, I know you were dragged through this, probably kicking and screaming most of the way. And if you would like to tell us a little bit about your background, if you're comfortable with that.
Oh, gosh. So I grew up with the back seat of our minivan on the front porch to accommodate the carpet cleaning machine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And that's okay. Fond memories. But I think I officially started working in the business when I was in 3rd grade, pulling hoses. And as far as I know, I was the only 3rd grader that had a sizable bank account. So I guess I appreciate the life lessons and responsibility that came with working at a young age. And I worked on and off, went to college, tried to find a different career. And after college, I came back and worked in the office a little bit in the field. And I got married. We ran away for about 4.5 years to California and decided this is probably where we really need to be. So we came back and have been ears deep in textiles for the last I keep saying 6 years, but time keeps ticking, so it might be closer to 8 years by now.
Wow,
Ugh.
amazing.
So here we are. Not
Okay.
at all what you plan for your life, but somehow you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
All right, very cool. Well, I like to know a little bit more about the backgrounds, and a lot of our viewers, want to know who the people are that we're talking to. So thank you both for that. So let's get down to it. I know what you do is fairly technical as far as the technology that's used, the methodology for cleaning. It's not just spraying a chemical on something and cleaning it. So how did you figure out how to do this? Did you take training, or did you just reinvent the wheel, or how'd you wind up doing what you're doing?
Well, we got started in our training because I had done some work. The guys at the shop figured I was the smartest one, so they sent me the worst, most difficult cases. And at this time, I went and bleached the guy's carpet and made a big mess. And that was $650 that Petty John's did not have. But we had to max out our credit cards in order for that to happen, so we did it. So I figured I better get some training. And as a result, I asked around a couple of places and found out that there was a class at Sunbelt Cleaning Supply House here in Raleigh. And the great Lee Pemberton from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, was the one who was teaching the class. And thankfully, I got the right teacher at the right time. And he told me everything I needed to do and to know in order to get started properly. And I could not be any more thankful for that. So absolutely, training and education, there is no substitute whatsoever for that unless you have a bottomless bank account that can handle all your screw ups.
Okay. Well, with that, in the world of indoor air quality, which is where we all work under, I know there's a lot of trade organizations and support groups and things like that. Did you ever try, or are you still working with those types of groups, trade associations, organizations that helped you through this?
To back up to education for just a moment, one of the fun full circle parts of being in a family business is, while my dad took classes from Lee Pemberton, I think I was able to fully explore my love of upholstery cleaning from Lee's son, Jim, a few years ago. So, or, many years later. So I think that their family business becoming full circle as our family business has become second generation is one of the beautiful little components that you don't just see everywhere.
So
That's very well put.
yes, it is. But does that really mean that when you were in 3rd and 4th grade, you were helping him with his homework?
I don't know.
You're exposing all our family secrets now.
I just wanted to make it clear for everybody where we were.
Well, that one of the benefits of being at a class like that is that you usually are associated with people that are where you want to be. And one of those people was a fellow named Chubb Safrit, S-A-F-R-I-T. He lived in Concord, North Carolina, right outside of Charlotte. And Chubb at that meeting told me, he said, Robert, if you want to do this business, you do this and this and this and this. And I did that and that and that and that. And then one thing led to another. And now here, what is today's date?
24th.
The 24th of what?
March.
March 24th in 2023. I'm being interviewed by the great Lance Eisen and the Normie crowd, along with my baby daughter, Katie. And I'm so very thankful to be here. But that would not have happened had I not been in the right training organization, doing the right things by people who knew what they were talking about.
Well, I understand, and I thank you for that. And I understand that you've been a part of and some leadership in organizations too along the way. That's where I was trying to go to with this, to kind of talk about your path to where you've gotten to now with the different groups, support groups, organizations, things like that you've been involved with.
That's a good question. Well, you ask good questions, man. Thank you very, very much, Lance. Well, yes, both my wife and I have been privileged to serve as president of the Mid-South Professional Cleaners Association, the finest regional trade association anywhere in the country, without question. My daughter Katie is on the board of directors right now at Mid-South. We were the founding members of the Association of Drug Care Specialists that is headquartered in Dallas, Texas. One of the charter members of that organization. I'm one of just a handful of certified rug specialists here in the United States, the only one in the Southeast. I'm also privileged to be a part of the Restoration Industry Association, where I'm one of about 125 certified water loss specialists in the whole country, and that's a real big deal. So you begin. Whenever years ago, we used to go get gas, and we had to get paid for it inside the convenience store. And when I came home, Karen said, "You went to the gas station, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." "How do you know?" "Because you smell like smoke." You remember that everybody smoked inside those gas stations. Well, that's the way it is now. You start to smell like the people you hang around. And fortunately, being a part of this national organization, Remediators and Microbial Inspectors, known as NORMI, I'm beginning to smell like you, Lance, and I'm so thankful for that.
I know there's a compliment in there someplace. I'm just not quite sure how far I have to dig for it. So I'm just going to kind of move on, and let's talk about indoor air quality, as long as you talked about, smells and things like that. Rug cleaners, carpet cleaners, I've seen these guys with their trucks, and they go out and they spray some stuff on the floor and vacuum it back up, and they're off to the next job. But why wouldn't they be more focused on how it's affecting the rest of the environment with indoor air quality? So, I mean, how do you view that component of what you do?
Well, one of the benefits of being involved in an organization like Mid-South is that back in 1989, when we first started, we ran into a fellow. His name is Dr. Michael Berry. He was in charge of the Research Triangle Institute, and at the time was a very, very close friend of the Mid-South Professional Cleaners Association. As a matter of fact, one of his students, a guy named Donald Pumphrey from up in Brown Summit, North Carolina, did a cleaning of the Frank Porter Graham Child Care Center in Chapel Hill, and discovered that the recidivism rate for people who got for the kids that were in that carpet cleaning, they got their carpets cleaned regularly, was much, much, much less. They almost never ever got sick. So Dr. Berry, in his book called Cleaning for Health, I don't know if people can see this. This is the one that Dr. Gavin McGregor Skinner is very interested in working with right now. But he says in his book some very, very powerful things about this business of cleaning. He said, in carpeted buildings, check entrances. It is especially important for you to analyze how and where unwanted matter gets deposited inside. This matter can be wet or dry or oily when it rains or snows or whatever the case may be. But he also says something very, very profound. He said, with housekeeping, we manage and take advantage of the sink effect we find inside. Kitchens have a literal sink. If dirty dishes and garbage are allowed to build up in it, bacteria will proliferate, and someone is likely to get sick. Some surfaces are better sinks than others, Dr. Berry says. Carpets and fabrics are very effective sinks. Pollutants stick on or fall into their fabric surfaces due to gravity or electrostatic attraction. Such complex webs of fibers can trap and hold pollutants for a very, very long time. Housekeeping that makes the indoor environment biologically clean promotes long-lasting health. We were fortunate in 1989 to be associated and to be acquainted with Dr. Michael Berry. And even as my role with the ICRC, I was fortunate to serve on the board of directors and the executive committee of that organization for 6 years, for crying out loud. But one of the people we met was a brilliant fellow who worked with the Journal of Cleaning, Restoration, and Inspection. He wrote an article called The Influence of Flooring Type on Allergen Levels and Airborne Particles. This thing right here. An amazing, John Downey is his name, an amazingly brilliant fellow. But he says, and I'll just read one short sentence or two. In conclusion, the results outlined here do not support the common recommendations favoring hard flooring rather than carpet that are currently given to those with asthma and allergy concerns. Adds to the growing body of research that suggest no flooring type is definitely preferable over another. We hear so many people, Lance, as you well know, say, rip the carpet out, take the carpet out. Well, no, the carpet is an effective sink. With every 1 square yard of carpet, there's 1.4 acres of surface area in that. That's a great sink, or a reservoir, as Dr. Gavin McGregor Skinner says. But that reservoir, that sink, needs to be emptied on a regular basis. Hence, what we're here for today is we are impacting people's indoor air quality in ways they will never have any indication. So,
Well, let me
industry that does this, that allows us to do this, sir.
let me toss up a softball to you guys, for you guys to take a swing at, using a baseball metaphor here. Here comes the pitch. In most structures, what is the largest filter in that facility or home?
Katie?
The carpet.
There you go. Pretty much what you just said. I mean, it's a massive filtering system, and it's so important to address it the right way.
It's crazy when the largest filter has been ripped out and replaced with a filter that can't hold on to anything, like a hard floor. That changes the whole maintenance protocol for the house, the whole level of expectation for the homeowner, for the inhabitants and their respiratory existence, in my opinion.
But your opinion is right. And the fact is that big sink that filter has got to be cleaned and emptied on a regular basis. I'm sorry, nobody put a gun to your head, made you buy that carpet or buy that Oriental rug, but still you got to maintain it. Nobody made you have babies. Nobody made you buy that house, but still you got to maintain it properly.
Absolutely. And that was the whole purpose for asking that question like that. You know, when you do take out the carpeting, it does change everything. The whole indoor air quality structure changes. So let's get a little bit more into the technology side of it. Could you give us some examples or demonstrations? I know you have some videos that you were talking about in a previous conversation we had about carpeting and cleaning and things like that.
That's a very good question, Lance, because cleaning carpets really does impact the 7 elements of indoor air quality. And those 7 elements, of course, are particles, odors, gases, biopollutants, temperature, relative humidity, and comfort. That's how you got to measure something somehow. So let's measure it with these standards, these criteria that Mr. Hoffman and Normie have established as extreme, and research over the decades as established as necessary elements of healthy indoor air quality. How does what we do impact healthy indoor air quality? Katie, how does all that happen? How would you show that?
I would like to start with reel it back a little bit and talk about why before how. I think one of the questions that is often overlooked when it comes to how are you going to clean my rug? Can you clean my rug? What are you doing? Why should I choose you over someone else? Is come back to why are we even doing this in the first place? And the Sunday school answer is indoor air quality. But there are other answers to those questions, and
those are going to be very simple. Why do you do what you do? Because it's important to your precious customers for one, but you've got to also understand what you're doing. Where does this rug come from? Where do these textiles come from? How did they come about even in the first place? And I think you may have a couple. We're going to show you a couple of videos, Lance, and your audience too. They're short videos. They're not going to last forever, but sometimes a picture says more, 1,000 words, 10,000, or whatever it is.
Short videos, like an active picture, so you can just catch a little glimpse of interaction and not necessarily watch the whole movie.
And you got some of those videos?
I think I've got a few set
Oh, that's
aside
great.
that'll
Let's
be
do it. Let's do it.
helpful.
Okay, we'll go for it.
Good.
All right. So let's do a share screen. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
So why do we clean rugs? Oh,
One of the first whys is this right here.
can you see that, Lance?
Yeah, absolutely. And being a grandparent, I mean, that speaks volumes to me.
All right, that little bugger is my nephew. And clearly, oh, there's my niece. And this is one of the primary reasons I clean things, is because I've got little kids and nieces and nephews that are crawling on my floor. And I've got a dog at home, and I know what the dog has done. I know what my kids have done to my floor. And while they're not this young anymore, literally eating the carpet as they pull themselves along, it's still shoes in my house. I know what's this close to their face. And it's important to keep the little people in my life safe.
Plus, their respiratory systems are much less developed than the rest of us. And there's that bell curve of life that from the very beginning, you're more sensitive, and at the very end, you're more sensitive too. So not only for babies, but for seniors in their homes, for people who are having elective surgery, for people who are bringing children home from freshly been born. Oh gosh, there's all kinds of reasons. But this is why we do what we do, dadgummit, is because there's people lives that are dependent on what we're doing. We're cleaning for health, my friend. That's a big deal.
Well, one thing that's a little different is most indoor air quality mold assessment work is measuring environments in that 4 to 6 foot breathable range. That's kind of the standard that most industrial hygienists look at, and testing is done at, because most people exist in that area breathing wise. The children that we're looking at, they don't fall into that range. They are way below it. They're down in the more humid area. They're down where the bigger particles are collecting because they're heavier. So they're more exposed to more, and the carpeting. So I agree with you completely.
And if people don't take their shoes off when they come in their house, that's the single most important thing you can do to maintain your carpets, by the way. We clean for a lot of Asians, and they're accustomed to taking their shoes off, and their slippers, they call them. We lived in Hawaii, and everybody would take their slippers off when they came into the house. Well, these people that we clean for from the Philippines and from other Asian places, their carpets, I said, what are we here for? And they said to clean your carpets. Well, they look fantastic. Why? Because they don't walk on them with their dadgum shoes. They take the shoes off before. It makes a huge difference. Okay, let's look at some more videos. Let's have some fun today. Okay, Kate?
All right. So as a company, Petty John's, we do a lot of Oriental rug washing, area rug cleaning, loose rugs, not to differentiate between installed carpeting. And
matter of fact, there's a rug on the back right behind us in the screenshot. That is an Afghan war rug with the tanks. Yep, the tanks and all that. That was made at a special time. We have a rug here on the wall from Tabriz in Iran. We got a bunch of rugs out there from Iran and from Turkey, Syria, from up in the Four Corners area of our country where the Navajo rugs are. Big deal. Let's show the video and see where they come from.
so before you clean something, it's helpful to have an understanding of how it's made. And I like to differentiate between loose rugs and installed carpet, because there's a lot of, can't you just clean my rug in my home? It's sitting on the floor just like my carpet is. Well, the construction difference between broadloom carpet that's installed in your home and a hand knotted Oriental rug, or even a machine made loose rug, is wildly different. The density of the tufts, the material, the backing in and of itself is just wildly more accessible and meant to be cleaned in home on a broadloom installed carpet versus a hand knotted rug, which is super, super dense, and a lot of that dry soiling is going to get driven into the foundation, and it's just not accessible from a cleaning standpoint in the home.
While
So-
Katie's looking at these videos, let me say one thing to you, Lance. You used the term broadloom a while ago.
Hey, Robert, hang on one second. If you're guys gonna talk for a while, stop your share so we can see you on the big screen instead of just a little screen with your files.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. So I understand. So that was just the tiny amount of background before we get into where does the Oriental rug come from, or where does the hand knotted rug come from?
Oh my, this is taken in the Luri area of Iran. There are two major nomadic tribes there, the Luris and the Qashqai's. And you can see that this is a big deal in their lives. I mean, this was only taken just a few years ago when I had the privilege to go to Iran and see these sites firsthand. This is something that you just don't see very much at all in our society, particularly in America, but gosh, almost anywhere. Then look who's bringing up the rear, being sure that the job's done right. Two women, by George. Isn't that fascinating? Wow.
So we start the journey with the sheep walking on a dusty road, and we are going to go to
the sheep have got to be shorn, and the wool's cut off. It's got a very high lanolin content in it, so it's got to be washed first. Once it's washed, it can be put into a dye vat and dyed almost any color imaginable. And these guys that do this, these dye masters, using all kind of natural vegetal dyes, are some of the most incredibly brilliant people on earth. They are the most highly respected anywhere along this rug chain. It's those people who know how to match colors and to get them exactly what the customer's looking for. Those are really huge. And I've had the privilege of getting to know some of these folks and to watch how hard they work. Man, you just never see them taking breaks.
So one of the questions we pose to ourselves before we clean a rug or anything in reality, what's it made of, what's happened to it, and what's the value? We're going to dig into the what's it made of portion right now as we've been. And
so people may find this awful pedantic or something kind of, why you show me all these things like this? Well, there's got to be an entertainment value to what we're seeing. You're seeing some stuff that you've probably never, ever seen before. We're lifting up the sheets, and now you can see what's going on in between. And it's a beautiful story of what all's been happening over the years. And to see that this, by the way, the oldest Oriental rug discovered was in the Pizric Mountains of Russia. It dates back to 5000 BC. It is constructed exactly the way that Persian or Iranian rugs are constructed today. Amazing, amazing. This here, you're seeing a lady in the Luri tribe. She is spinning the wool that's been cut off of the sheep, and it's all been cleaned up, and now they get big old skeins of this stuff, and it's got to be spun now into a yarn that can be used in a rug. But just look at all the times that this is being held by the human hand. Look, all the oils, look at the soil that's on the ground. I mean, these things, you'll see how this is taken care of down the road. This is a beautiful process. And whether you're washing upholstery, whether you're cleaning dishes, whether you're cleaning up a television set or whatever, you got to know how things are constructed. And look at these incredible ladies there in the Qashqai tribe that are actually weaving a rug on the ground. These are nomadic tribes, much like you read about in the Old Testament. And these girls are all dressed up, ready to meet their husband should he come by. And it is, I mean, literally, that's the truth. And just look at what they're doing on the ground, for crying out loud. Wow. If this doesn't want to make you want to preserve the investment, we're, as Ron Toney says, who's the IICRC #1 certification, by the way. Ron Toney says we are able to preserve time spent. Oh, what other job can you do that can preserve time that's already been spent? I've got 2 daughters, and a lot of these people who are making rugs, as you'll see in the videos, they're all women. Men are out there smoking cigars and drinking tea and trying to sell something. But no, these ladies are the ones working. And by washing a rug properly, we're preserving the time that they spend on it. Just look at the incredible dexterity that these ladies have got in their hands. They're taking 2 or 3 of these yarns together, and this lady is cutting this yarn off as she goes. Those knives are unbelievably sharp, but her fingers, no slices whatsoever. Just a beautiful, beautiful context of why we do what we do. And if you don't know why you do what you do, it becomes a game of gossip, somebody has said. No, you've got to know why you do what you do. This is why we do it. And once the rug is, it's got to be finished. So let's see what's going on here. If you've ever felt a wool rug on the back of the rug, it can feel kind of scratchy and kind of rough. Well, in order for that not to happen, they actually set fire to the bottom of a rug. Wool, on the other hand, wool rugs do not catch a fire. That's why they are used exclusively in the airplane business. You look at the airplane that you fly, the Delta, Pan Am, whatever you got. There's not Pan Am anymore, is it? No. Okay. But any other airline you fly, they all have wool carpets. Why? Because they don't catch a fire and burn.
What does the burning actually do?
The burning actually removes the scratchy stuff that's on the back of the rug. And there's an aesthetic value to having an Oriental rug. And one of them is it feels so soft and so plush under your hands. You can pick it up and look at the back side of it. But now, after all those rugs are dealt with so many times, they got to be cleaned somehow. Let's watch and see how these folks are washing the rug. There's 6 elements to any cleaning process. There's chemical action, mechanical action. This is where you're brushing your teeth or your hair or your dishes or whatever. Chemical action, mechanical action, dwell time, temperature, rinse, or dry. Those 6 elements. You can see that they're wetting this thing down. They're actually using laundry detergent to wash these rugs out on. And they want to wash them and get them as clean as possible but you just look. Are they rinsing them out completely? Are they really getting those things completely clean and rinsed out? There's a question about that. Let's continue. Now, once you wash something, you got to dry it up. This is Mr. Reza Zolanbari, one of the most brilliant and compassionate men you'll ever meet. He has Zolanbari rugs. You can look them up. And these are, you see the rocks out in Iran, that sun is beating on those rocks all the time. And they've taken these rugs, they've turned them face up, and the rugs, the bottom of it, what Mr. Zolanbari is explaining is that these rugs are drying from the bottom and from the top with the sunshine and a little bit of air. There's not very much air movement. Temperature, air movement, and dehumidification are the 3 factors that influence drying anything, whether you have a flood in your house or you're drying wet rugs. Temperature, air movement, and dehumidification. You're seeing that process. Plus, they're being exposed to the UV light, which is helping to deepen the colors in these yarns. They thought of everything over the thousands and thousands of years that they've been doing this. It's in the book of Judges. You can read it. But when you make a rug, you got to sell it. So here they are, flipping rugs. It's called flipping rugs to the public. Here's what that looks like. And this was taken in Iran or Persia, whatever you want to call it, by some of the most careful, beautiful human beings. Just look at these textiles. Look at how beautiful they are. Oh, my stars.
So many hands are involved in the production of the rug before a brand new rug gets to a showroom or gets to your home, where it's new and presumed to be clean and ready to use. And the concept of clean, the definitive clean, it's kind of vague because, hold on just 1 second, you'll see in this video, it's about 2 seconds away. You're going to see
Oops.
that has just potentially touched a brand new item that you're going to bring into your home, and your child's going to crawl across, or you're going to drop a little crumb and you're going to pick it up and eat it because that was a really good blueberry muffin and you just bought the rug so it's clean. So
This is actually the very first rug I ever bought. It's actually a grain bag. I bought this at the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, Turkey. And to be able to, and what happened was the folks used to put the grain in these bags and put the bags on top of, on the back of the horse and take them back and forth to wherever they needed to go. So this is now, fortunately, this has been cleaned, and that man that you saw in there has got a huge, huge heart, but he is unfortunately no longer with us. A dear, dear friend of our rug industry, and he's no longer with us. So, but this is understanding where these come from and how they get around and how they make it into people's houses. There's a story behind every one of these rugs. There may not be a story behind a carpet, but there's almost always a story behind an Oriental rug. We bought this rug in Ephesus on our honeymoon when we were on the Mediterranean Sea. We bought this, the very first purchase we bought, we went downtown and bought it at the rug shop. And now this is the first thing we ever bought as a married couple, somebody would say. Or I don't want to start crying or nothing, but my granddaddy taught me how to dance on this rug. Or this is when my brother and I used to play the Hot Wheels around the outside edges of the guard border on these rugs. All kind of stories behind them. And you just mentioned one about your mama a while ago. There's stories behind them all. And these are very, very real. A lady brought a rug into us the other day, about 6 or 8, 9 years ago, something like that. And it was a polypropylene, tore up and all that. And I said, ma'am, if you'd prefer, we could just go ahead and put it up back there. And I was pointing to the dumpster. She said, oh, no. This is the only thing my mother ever gave me. I can point to you in our shop right now where the two of us were crying, and we cleaned it just like we cleaned the governor's rugs, even better. This was a big deal to me. We made this just like it was. It belonged to Jesus himself. So that's just.
You know, when you're talking about how the rugs were made, the care that goes into them and everything else, I mean, just like with anything that you would want to clean or repair or fix, you have to know what it's made of. You have to know how it's constructed. Otherwise, you're blindly going in there and possibly doing something to damage it, throwing bleach on it to get the dirt out. Well, that's going to take out the color, or using the wrong type of equipment to disassemble something. So it's really important to understand how things are constructed, which is what you just showed us. So thank you very much for that.
Whether it's a rug or whether it's your hardwood floors or anything, I know that you and I have had water damages in our home. As a matter of fact, today I'm getting all the CPVC plumbing removed from my deadgum house, so I don't want to come home to a flood. They're replacing all that stuff. Well, I've had floods in my house when we came home and it was wet, and you've had floods in your house too. And to know for the restoration contractor or the remediation contractor to know what it's made of before he starts just sawing into something is just really huge. You made an excellent point, Lance. That's a beautiful point. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you were able to talk to homeowners and business owners, what would you tell them to do to protect their rugs or floor coverings, whether it's carpet or a throw rug type of a thing, Oriental rug?
Oh, that is a great question. You should know the answer to some of that, Katie.
how to protect your rug? Well, I like to kind of refer to the American healthcare standard on this one, and you can kind of go one of two ways. You can go preventative or you can go corrective. A lot of people find it easier to just go corrective. You know, I'm going to eat this now, and if my pants don't fit, I'm either going to buy new pants, or if the doctor tells me to lose weight, I will. It's almost always easier and to your advantage to be preventative
And cheaper.
and cheaper. Maybe a little more expensive in the short term, always cheaper in the long term to go preventative. That means taking your vitamins, get your butt out of bed in the morning and exercise, or do some sort of meditation or something and get yourself right for the day. Also, preventative is imagining in the future what's going to happen. Somebody's going to spill something. Somebody's going to find something you said so funny that their soda spews out of their nose. They're laughing so hard. Then you've got to deal with cleaning up. That's happened. That's why I said that.
Well, and you're exactly right. We have the ability to think and to project ourselves into the future is really, really huge.
Well, one of the components here that's so important is by showing people the reality of how things are done, how things are made, and how things should be. And now talking about the preventative compared to reactionary. That is a major issue with most people today. Nobody, and I say nobody, the governments particularly don't want to spend money preventatively. They don't budget for prevention. They budget only for reactionary. Unfortunately, a lot of people are exposed to that too. A lot of people are short on funds, so they're not going to spend money to fix something that isn't a problem as yet. What you're demonstrating to us is the risk to that and how much more it costs down the road. I guess the easiest example for most people to understand would be driving your car for 10 years and never changing the oil. Well, it seems to be running fine. I'll leave it alone. Well, one day the engine seizes and that, $10 can of oil just cost you $5,000 for a new engine. So, it's taking care of it now before it becomes a problem is so important.
Sure. I 100% agree. I highly recommend putting a protective coating on your textiles when they're new or freshly cleaned, because of the simple, buy yourself some time in case of a spill. Make your vacuuming more effective. You're going to vacuum anyway. You floss your teeth regularly, and your dentist knows when you don't. Your rug cleaner knows when you're not vacuuming regularly. So put the protective coating on there. It makes it almost extends to the point where it can save relationships in your life.
Oh gosh, yes.
Because at some point, your child might spill a chocolate milkshake on your dad's rug. And
is that what your child did?
I think so.
I think so too.
And even though the rug was protected, there was a very brief moment that was captured. You could feel it, the tension in the air. Had that rug not been protected, I know what it's like to spot clean a protected rug and know what it's like to spot clean an unprotected rug. It's just a lot more difficult. And I don't know what the result's going to look like. But it was a timeout. Everybody stay calm. I need a paper towel. I need a spoon. I need a little bit of water on a towel. And the milkshake scooped right up into the towel. And within, honestly, about 2 minutes worth of work, we had that rug back to pre-loss condition. And there were no hard feelings other than the milkshake, the effort put into the milkshake, which you can't help.
But stuff is going to happen. But you bring up a good point. A lot of times, people who are visiting with you in your home, they'll spill something and they'll never tell you. They'll just overlook it and hope you don't notice it or something. And now you've got some funky mess somewhere down the road that you got to deal with. Had that rug been protected properly, like you said, or at least have the knowledge of somebody that knows what they're doing in order to clean that rug or that piece of upholstery or whatever the case, those things are very, very expensive. And being able to take care of that. And that is also one of the components of indoor air quality, which is odors. And some of these odors don't show up until the humidity maybe get high in the air or something. Now it gets kind of funky. So these are real life situations that we come across with all the time.
So to bring one of your previous questions back full circle, what is the carpet cleaner? What does the rug cleaner even have to do with indoor air quality? I have a video. I will share my screen again. A video that's going to kind of walk us through, now that we know what a rug is made of, how it's constructed, we can look at the entire rug cleaning process and see what is important about the rug cleaning process and how it is critical to the indoor environment. I can pause this as needed if we get chatty about something. So this, in our shop here's another war rug. Clearly we have a theme in my household because my husband was in the military, and this is not a true Afghan war rug. It was made in Pakistan. And the first, I do hate that. Let's go back. The first thing we do is inspect it just to be sure that we're all on the same page with the client, because no matter what kind of service you're providing, setting the expectation with your client on the front end always makes it easier to do your job right.
That's the same way it is with mold remediation or anything we're doing at any company, whether we're doing mold remediation or carpet cleaning or upholstery cleaning, whatever.
House painting, whatever it is.
By the way, that's Andrew right there.
That is my husband.
By the way, this guy in this video is an Iraqi war veteran, a Purple Heart recipient, a man's man. He's not scared of nothing. And he happens to be my son-in-law, and I'm very, very thankful that he's part of the family.
So the last little portion was the tumble duster, and this is compressed air, 125 CFM, 125, what else? PSI, man thing, that's okay. And this is the dry soil removal that is critical to the first step of the cleaning process.
Because can you pause it just a second?
Yep.
Procter & Gamble back in the 70s did a study of what was in dirty carpets, and they did a dirty upholstery because they wanted to sell a product over the counter. And they discovered that about 78% of the soil that's in carpet is dry particle soil that can be vacuumed and taken away. The other 20% is a roughly 10% water soluble soil, and solvent soluble soil, the other 10. So knowing that, we got a rug or your carpet care professional, whatever, gets 80% of it clean by simply vacuuming or dusting it correctly and properly. Amazing how much of that. And hence, what are we doing? We're improving indoor air quality. Because if that's all we did to that rug right there, it goes back in as a much more healthy part of that customer's indoor air quality. Look at all that dry particle soil, and these are big chunks. We're not seeing the little stuff.
So you see the dusty, the skin cells, the things that come in off your shoes. And I think you've said in the past, if you were to only do this, you'd still get an 80 on the test, which I'd like to point out as a child was not acceptable. And, as a rug cleaner, I still don't think it's acceptable. So we'll continue on. I am slightly embarrassed that's how much came out of a rug from my house. That's okay. So here is 1,200 gallons of naturally softened rainwater that we harvest from our roof. And we will put a rug, depending on structural integrity, condition of the rug, and soiling. We'll go into the wash tub. A couple different factors will play a part into it. So swimming around with a little cleaning agent, the rug will release the water-soluble soils and things that can be addressed by the cleaning agent. And if there's urine in the rug, it'll spend a little more time there. This is one of the elements of the cleaning process.
There's 6 elements to any cleaning process. Chemical action, like you saw some detergents inside that wash tub. Chemical action, mechanical action. This is mechanical action. You brush your teeth, for instance. This is brushing your rug's teeth. Chemical action, mechanical action, dwell time. You don't stick a rug into that wash tub and then pull it right back out. Give it 30, 45 minutes of dwell time. Chemical action, mechanical action, dwell time, temperature. That rug is at a certain temperature. then rinse and dry. Those 6 elements. If you wash your hair, you rinse it. You don't just walk out of the shower. No, you rinse yourself off. The same thing happens in a rug. You rinse it off. And we put, now this goes into the wringer rinser to where it's rinsing a rug off. If you could stick yourself in there, it would be really good.
That would hurt.
No, it hurt, wouldn't
Okay.
it?
So we have a little bit of warmth to the water, not hot water. A little bit of warmth because we know that does a little better job of rinsing out the cleaning agents. It's going to slowly creep through this process. And on the other side of those jets are those little rubber guys right there that kind of squeegee out a lot of the loose water. So
That's just like Granny had it in her wash thing in the back on her back porch.
yes.
She kept all the National Enquirers in there though, that instead of washing rugs in it.
Oh,
Did you?
I don't know.
Okay.
And then the rest of the water is spun out in the centrifuge, which is going to spin at about 960 RPM. And it's a little faster than the Gravitron at the fair. It would literally liquefy you if you got into it. And
That's 10,000 PSI is what it is. That's the RPM.
Yep. And then the final grooming. When you wash your hair, you comb it when you're done so that it doesn't dry out and knotted and tangly. And then you dry it. So then our rug is going to go into the dry room where we duct in hot, dry air and recirculate that heat, duct out the humidity, use air movement and temperature and dehumidification to get this rug dry. Most rugs are going to be dry in that 4 to 8 hour window because we're able to really seal it in and get it nice and warm and a very effective drying system. And then the next day we'll detail any little spots that maybe didn't come out because they're solvent soluble, detail the fringe is needed, roll it up, put it on the wall and say, come get me. So that is our rug cleaning process. And that is how you pull particulate out of a rug to make it a clean, healthy filter again.
And we do the same thing with upholstery too. We blow it off to get the dry particles out of there. By the way, we've had extremely good success, even with moldy upholstery, to be able to blow it off, to put a disinfectant on there first, blow it off completely with 125 PSI, 125 CFM, and then wash it again thoroughly, and then blow it off again, and then test it and send it off to the lab, and it comes back food grade clean. We've taken rugs that we put 15 gallons of raw, untreated sewage, doo-doo, on those rugs, rolled them up for 4 days, and taken them off and cleaned them and got them washed and cleaned. Send them to the lab up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where they test all the cereal boxes and all that, and it comes back food grade clean. That's a huge, huge deal for people that have mold in their homes, or they have any kind of an illness or something that's causing them to have bad indoor air quality. Well, we can now, my goodness, we can save the roads, and there's people all over across the country who can do the same thing. One of the things that Katie was talking about is preventive maintenance. One of the preventive maintenance ways that you can do this is to research your area and find somebody who is a certified rug specialist with the Association of Rug Care Specialists, ARCS, or look up Normie, NORMI, and look for a Normie professional. That guy should have done his homework enough to know who the rug professionals are in his area, who the textile professionals are in his area, because none of us is good. Well, almost none of us is good at everything.
Speak for yourself.
Well, before you kids start arguing, let me jump in here and say that obviously the passion is there for what you do and how you care about your customers and their property and how you take care of it. So kudos for that. Absolutely. We only have
only the way we were raised. It's only the way we were raised, Lance. Mr. and Miss Chapman ingrained that into Karen, and my mom and daddy surely did the same thing for us.
Well, they did a good job. But we have a few minutes left. So is there anything you'd like to wrap up with or say to anybody watching this?
I just want to reiterate the fact that cleaning your textiles in your house impacts the indoor air quality of what you're breathing. Mr. Hoffman says that these cleaning techniques and all that are for people who like to breathe, and we enjoy breathing, and our customers enjoy breathing. And these rugs. Oh, I'm glad you put this up. This is from Shaw Industries, by the way.
I'm not screen sharing
Okay,
right now.
can you screen share it?
I can.
All right.
I sure can.
This is important. It was said of the parson in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, but first he wrought her, and then he taught her. Well, if I'm gonna sit there and tell you stuff to do, I ought to at least do it in my own dadgum house. So let's go to the next one too.
Okay, so let's talk about this though.
Okay.
The first lines of defense. We always say vacuuming is one of the best ways of maintenance, but before vacuuming, what can you do to reduce or prevent the load of soiling that's going to be on your floor covering? And the 3 zones, as Shaw calls it, zone 1, 2, and 3, is get the moisture off of your feet first, and then something to collect the bulk of like a scrubby, bristly kind of
Floor
floor
mat.
mat,
Yep.
and then something to get whatever might be left on it. So why does it keep going the same direction?
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Here.
This is my front porch, and you see that I've got some rug pad that was cut wrong, so we use it out there. That's absorbing the moisture off from the bottom of my shoe. And you see that little scratchy little green rug mat. That's an AstroTurf mat. I want to scratch the stuff off the bottom of my dadgum shoes. Studies have shown it takes 15 steps to remove the soil from the bottom of your shoes. So let's accelerate that, please, and we can do that. And then another thing we do is we put a nylon walk-off mat there and put our shoes over to the side so that we're not traipsing that stuff all in our house. Why? Because my wife and I breathe about 3,000 gallons of air every day, just like you and Andrew and your babies don't drink quite that much, but everybody that's watching this video, you drink 3,000 gallons of air a day. And do you want to get it clean as possible for your healthy indoor environment? And fortunately, we're starting them off young at Petty John's. But she needs to put the phone up and not talk to her friends while she's doing some work, though.
You know, Katie, you had spoken earlier about that whole child labor thing when you were growing up. And
Oh, gosh.
I see this isn't really skipping a generation.
Okay, just handcuff me now. You can go ahead.
Brendan's family, all of the little ones have been obsessed with vacuum cleaners, which is funny. Is it funny? I think it's in our DNA.
But it goes back to these things here we're talking about here, Lance. These cleaning for health. Research has shown that if you can identify where the reservoirs or the sinks are in your house, or in your office, or in your car, or anywhere, then you can identify the pathways that that reservoir takes to get into your lungs or into your body, that a germ or a virus or a mold spore or something would get into there. Then you can interrupt that pathway and stop that from getting into your body. This is one of the beautiful things that Dr. Gavin McGregor Skinner is teaching people to become essential cleaning professionals. And by the way, during the corona, you remember we called some politician's office and told him that we cleaned the governor's rugs. And he said, okay, you're an essential cleaning professional. So we got that designation early on. And how many times have we taken a rug and taken the ATP meter and before and after and seen the reduction in organic load almost non-existent?
We had fun playing with that during COVID when everyone was hyper aware of ATP meters and organic load, and we tested a random rug out in our shop. I think it had urine in it, so we knew it was going to have a decent organic load to begin with. And when we were done cleaning it, literally right out of the centrifuge. We groomed it, we put it on the poles like you saw in the video, did another ATP swab on it, and did one of those cartoon iRub things, did another swipe with another test, and it said 0. We were like, did we do it right?
Unbelievable. No.
Well, I'll tell you what, I want to interrupt you here because I think you're giving away all the secrets to part 2 of Pettyjohn Cleaning here. So we're just about out of time for this segment. So if we can wrap this up, maybe we'll do another segment in the near future and go into some more detail on that.
Well, fortunately, this business is in our blood. My granny lived at 25 Liley Street in Somerville, Georgia, right across from the Bigelow Sanford rug mill. And she babysitted all the children for the executives of that place. My uncle was a dolpher there. Both of my aunts worked in that rug plant. And my daddy's PhD is in organic chemistry, for crying out loud. And he worked at DuPont for 35 years in there as a senior research chemist with them, and developed a lot of different textiles that we use today, as a matter of fact. And fortunately, it's in our blood, but also a respect for the people who made this rug is in our blood, and respect for our precious customers is in our blood too. We're not here. John Donne says, "No man is an island unto himself." We're not here by ourselves. No, we're part of the whole, and what we do impacts people's lives. And that's the beautiful thing about Normie, is that Mr. Hoffman and you, Lance, and Roger, and all those guys, and David, and all those guys out there are just are preaching this sermon over and over and over again, and it's taking. I think our society and our culture is really beginning to develop a huge appreciation for proper indoor air quality. And thank you, Lance, for what you've done and for allowing us to look under the sheets to see what's going on at Pettyjohn's too.
Well, Katie, Robert, I thank you very much for spending this time with us. Very educational, and maybe we'll do this again with the part 2.
Well, that'd be fun. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lance.
Thank you, Lance.
Take care. I want to welcome my next guest, Nick South from Sotellus. And it's an interesting name, and I think the easiest way for us to find out what Sotellus really is to ask Nick. So Nick, say hello, and what is Sotellus?
Hey, hello everybody. Glad to be here. So what Sotellus is we're an online review capturing, marketing, and referral system. Basically a one-stop shop for all online needs, as far as communication with clients, chat boxes, marketing, and online reputation management.
So if we step back for a minute and let's look at you for a second, how'd you get involved with this? I mean, this is a very niche type of a thing. How'd you stumble into this or wind up there?
So actually a long time ago, I used to run an Amazon FBA business. If you've ever done anything with Amazon, you know that reviews are everything with them. So if you want people finding your products and people seeing you more often online, you need reviews. So during that time, I just saw like a very niche and very important part of how online reputation affects a business. And then I ended up running into somebody involved with Sotellus that, I ended up meeting the owners. I loved what they were doing. I love that their mission is to help empower the small businesses, to give them the same marketing material, and power that, these large franchises who have 50K to, burn a month. Right. So it really attracted me over to doing that with them.
Well, I've been doing a lot of the social media and marketing and stuff with Normie for many years, and it's kind of a education as you go, and then they change it. Once you understand it, everything changes again. The one thing that's constant though is the reviews. So, if you look at it from a distance, you see all kinds of reviews, but why are they so important? From your perspective, I mean,
right.
Private businesses, I understand, but from your perspective.
Well, I always, you can go the statistical route, roughly about 90% of people will look at a business's reviews. 70% of people are going to Google and research a business before they even call in. But then just think about yourself. Like I always ask somebody, everybody knows about Amazon. Everybody goes and buys stuff on Amazon. When was the last time you bought a product and you didn't check out the reviews? And I always use the example of if you see two products that are the exact same, but this product B is $10 cheaper than product A, but product A has 205 stars and product B has only 5. almost everybody will choose product A and spend the extra $10 just to ensure that they're going to get a similar result or have a similar experience as those other happy people.
So to me, it sounds more like a reputation kind of a thing based on what other people that have used your services say.
Exactly. It reviews is reputation, right? It's social proof. You know, it's where reviews are is just results from your actual quality of service, right? It's exactly why if you have, you know, tons of 5-star reviews, people tend to choose your service more than somebody who has a bunch of 2 stars.
I've seen a lot of sites where you see, you know, like 300 5-star reviews. You know,
Yeah.
is that like real, or is that something that, you know, everybody is perfect and that's the only people that do reviews?
Right. So it just depends on that business. A lot of the times if they have that amount of reviews, right, and it's a lot of 5 stars, Google's very strict on finding out and flagging people if they end up having fake reviews, right? So we'll get this happen once in a great while. Somebody calls in wanting to buy reviews from us. We have to educate them and just let them know that we don't do that. That is illegal. You can get fined by the FTC. There's a lot of problems that can ensure with that. So most of the time they should be real, just because of the fact that Google's going to find out and flag them, because they'll search every profile. They'll see how many reviews those profiles have left on other places. And if they see that they're just all recently created and left 1 5-star, then they know they're not real. So
Let's say I want to show the public reviews about myself. I mean, I know I have reviews on Facebook and Google and who knows wherever else. How do I use the reviews to show the public who I am and what I do?
So there's a bunch of different ways to market these reviews out and to get them in front of people, really. To get in front of people, one thing is, you know, take your listings, put them in your email signatures, take other reviews you have from different platforms and post them like on your social media. The best part about with us and our software is that all that stuff is done automatically and they're all aggregated. You know, instead of just like if you're somebody who has, let's say, 60 reviews, but they're spread across, you know, 6 different platforms, it doesn't really look that great. Right? Because not everybody who goes to Google will also go to Yelp and then go to Facebook and then go to LinkedIn, etc. So what we do is we pull all these reviews in and we actually show all positive reviews on single places and use that to market out. So you have like one page with all the positive reviews on there. All the reviews get posted onto your Facebook page, inside your Google business, on your website, right? Basically as many places as somebody could possibly find your company, you want social proof.
Okay, but you know, I can talk about Normie and we are using, you know, Sotellus with a lot of our review stuff, which has really made a big difference. But how do you get all the reviews in one place? I mean, they're all over the place on different market platforms.
Right. So that's the trick. You know, if you don't have some form of system in place, the only thing that you can really do is you're going to have to take like your Google link, your Yelp link, your Facebook link, and you're going to have to put all these different little links to those pages, like inside of like your emails and your texts, which is, you know, it's unreasonable. Most people aren't going to go click on all those different links. Nobody wants to see 5 different links to the reviews in there. So with our platform, you know, you'll have one single link that incorporates all positive reviews from the videos, the Sotellus, the Googles, the Facebooks, right? And pulls them all into that one page. So you can use that to show potential customers, show them your social proof, but also taking that and marking that out even more.
Well, I know that's what we had done where we've filled out in our profile on setting up our process with you guys, all the different locations that we're aware of that were reviewed. I mean, I'm sure there's others. And I've noticed that if it like pulls a review from Facebook, it posts it on Google and vice versa and on Yelp and all these different places. That's what you guys do?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you run into somebody who, you know, let's say maybe didn't have a Facebook account, so they couldn't leave a Facebook review, but they had a Google, right? So they'll leave you the review on Google. Well, we're still going to take that review, right? We still post it on the other places such as your website, SEO, public page, and all that great stuff. But we still take that review and it automatically gets posted onto your Facebook wall, right? So all the different platforms that people are finding reviews on, like Google and Facebook, you know, we're taking the reviews from the other platforms and posting them into there as well. Like, for example, on Google, A lot of businesses don't know about this, but there's a section on the listing called Google My Business Posting. A very big amount of business owners actually don't utilize it or don't even know about it because, you know, it's Google. They're not going to promote a free feature no matter how powerful it is, just because they're not making money off of it. So we created this sort of partnership with Google where we're the only review system that automatically posts into there. So if you do get a review on a platform, like let's say it's a client that doesn't have any platforms, they don't have Google, Facebook, Yelp, etc. It doesn't matter. Right, we'll still get the review with us, and we're still going to post it into the Google Business, onto the Facebook page, and onto about 5 additional places after that as well.
So even if they don't have those review pages set up for their business, you're still going to have the reviews that are posted go out to those locations anyways.
So the business owner will still need to have an account on those locations. This is something that our coach will help them set up. But if the customer doesn't have an account with those platforms, they can't leave a review. So if they don't have a Gmail, they can't leave a Google review, but they'll still be able to leave a review with Sotellus without having to create an account or anything, which we could still take and then post inside the Google Business.
Okay, I remember from the trade show that we were at where we talked with you guys a lot, you had a specific app that would handle all that stuff right on the spot. Matter of fact, that was one of the things I liked most about your stuff, where not only can you do, typing, I like your stuff, it could be an audio or video review also.
Yeah, that's a big thing with us. A very big hit is that we are the only verified video review system on the planet right now that's actually acknowledged by Google. So because of that, there's a bunch of big things that come along with being the only video review system. Is that one, they're undoubtedly the most powerful, right? 80% of today's traffic online is video. Okay, so it's like everybody has seen a 5-star Google review that doesn't even have a review. It's just a rating, or they just said highly recommend. Right. But when you see a video of an actual customer that's been verified by another company showing and proving that it's real, and that customer is just raving about how much they loved your service, they loved your product, the great business owner that you are, right? That becomes a lot more powerful and enticing for potential clients. And then on top of that, the great thing is that they're also the fastest ranking reviews because they're the only ones that are able to be played and watched more than one time. But you're able to capture those on person with a patented mobile app that we have. So you just pull up your app, click a button, put the customer's name and number in, and get the review right then and there. And that way, that's why we have such a high capture rate, is because we figured out that just sending out invites is great, text and emails, of course, following up with them. It creates a higher conversion rate, if you follow up. But when you ask somebody in person, like right after the service is done, right at the height of their either excitement, their emotions, their gratitude, right, that is the best time to get a review, is right then and there on the spot. Because even the customers that want to leave reviews, not all the time, they don't always leave them just because something comes up, right? As soon as that service was done, they might have had to run out the house 2 minutes later to go grab the kids from school. I work for a review company, and that's happened to me before. So that's why the mobile app is such a useful tool, because you can capture a review on the spot in under 30 seconds.
Complicated to do. I've done those, but I haven't been out in the field recently doing that. And, is it a changed process, or is it just really click one button?
This is just click one button. You pull up the app. There's 3 types of reviews and 4 total buttons. It's that simple, right? It's video, audio, text review, or send an invite. If you're getting on the spot, you're choosing between the 3. Click whatever review you want. Just put the client's name or initials, and then you could do number or email. And then you just get the review right then and there.
About as simple as it gets.
Yeah, it could not be any easier to capture review in person.
One of the things that I noticed, and I had done this several times when I was out at trade shows and stuff, I've gotten video reviews, audio reviews from what I would call influencers. And, the regular reviews powerful, but when you get somebody that's an influencer in that industry and they're giving you a video review on the spot, you can buy testimonials like that if you would want to. I mean, it's great.
I totally agree with that. We actually have I have a presentation that I like to show people just how I explain the system. And in there, we have a lady named Heidi Powell. There's probably going to be somebody who watches this who knows who that is. She's very big in like the fitness space. we got a video review of her because one of our clients actually did a DJ thing for her wedding or something around those lines. But because of that, we got an awesome review of somebody who has I think over 500,000 following or more, right? So, and then being able to also get that person to also share that on their social media, which is what our system also does. I mean, you can't even buy that type of publicity.
I know when we first introduced you guys to the Normie base, there was a lot of excitement about it, which there still is. But Doug Hoffman, our CEO, actually did a lot of personal video reviews for some of our members, especially our charter members and people that have really been around for a long time. And again, I consider him an influencer with the industry. That was a very powerful thing for a lot of these people.
Yeah, 100%. Again, having a figure in that industry giving you the review. We have a coach who does something similar. Her name's Krista Mayshore. Another online, she's pretty well known and influencer as well. But in the real estate industry, she's one of the largest well-known coaches. And all the people who go through her coaching program, a lot of the time they'll send, her the invite to get their first video review, right? So when, obviously getting somebody of that magnitude in that industry, right, it makes a huge deal, especially when people are going and checking out your service and trying to look at your social proof and if you're an established company.
And those video reviews will also show up on all the different platforms that you're tied into for reviews?
100%. Yeah. It goes to the public page with all the other reviews, the website, Facebook, Google Business. Also, they get to share it on their Facebook as well in front of their friends and family, all with a call to action from the business as well. So it goes on about at least 6 to 7 different places minimum.
That call to action you just mentioned, is that or considered the referral side of what this does, or is that different?
Yeah. So there's a few things in there. We have a special offer and lead magnet program that's attached with a referral program. So every customer that gives our clients a review, that customer is going to be asked to share the review. They could share it with people directly, and they can also share it on Facebook by just clicking a button, right? When they share it on Facebook, we know the average person's got about 500 friends, right? So instead of just a one-to-one referral, we figured let's try to get one to many. Okay, instead of just trying to capture one new customer per person, let's try to capture 10. So they get to share it on Facebook with an offer from the business. Now, if it's a cleaning company or something, you can offer a discount off the service. But then we work with people who could be in real estate who will give out a free market analysis. So it's really just a call to action. It doesn't necessarily need to be an offer. It could be scheduling a consultation, things like that. But it's just a very easy way for a customer to refer as many people as they know instead of just referring one person that they know. Because most people can't think of somebody off the top of their head anyways.
Any secrets on how to get more referrals?
Yeah, so this is something that our team will do in the training and the setup process. But I always tell the people that I work with, you should run some form of incentive program. And almost everybody can do this. There's a few industries where we do have exceptions that we have workarounds to, but a big thing is just an incentive program. Tell a customer hey, if you share this offer on Facebook and anybody who claims this offer from you, I'm going to give you a discount off your next service with me. So it could be a share one, get one. If you share this 10% and they claim it, you get 10%. But maybe if it's a one-time service, right? Maybe something you don't need consistently or on a subscription, then you can just offer out some kind of, almost rebate. Hey, if you share this and somebody claims it, I'll give you a $20 gift card to Starbucks. Right? That's a big one. People just giving out gift cards if they refer people into them.
So to me, that sounds like a lead generating program. I mean, is there a way to capture the leads automatically, or do you have to manually go and look for them, or how's that work?
So with the referral program, when it's on the customer's Facebook page, if one of their friends are interested, all they do is click a post, right? It's going to show off their friend's review with the offer there. Their friend's interested, they click it. It's going to pull their friend's review up. And then right there is going to be an offer form. As soon as they fill that out, the customer is immediately notified. It goes on their back end. It can automatically be sent into their CRM as well. And then the customer will receive an email too with the information on how to claim that offer. And then on top of that, with the special offer program, that one's a little bit different. We don't have to rely on just the referral process. So we take the special offer that the customer wants to give out. So maybe it's 10% off the service. Well, every single place that we market and post the reviews out, there's going to be that call to action there as well. So whether they go on the website, on the Google Business, on the Facebook, on their public page, if they go Google them in the Google search engine, they're going to see that business's 5-star reviews, and every single review will have that call to action there. So the whole purpose is just making sure that any possible place that a potential client could find the business, we want their reviews and the call to action there.
Okay, so listening to this, and as one of our members listening to this, sounds a bit complicated, though it's automated too. So how do you simplify it? What we would have to do?
So exactly how you said, it's all automated. The customers here don't have to do anything. The whole point, like automation is the new delegation, right? So the whole point is to make this whole thing run itself and make sure that's automated for the client. Because if we just threw our clients a system and said, have fun, go figure it out, you can get the reviews and then you're going to have to go post them all separately. Like we'd be out of business. So our whole system is automated. The only thing the clients do on their end is just capture the reviews, and that can even be automated as well. They can upload lists of their customers, and then we'll reach out for them, or we can integrate and use their CRM to automate their invites too. The customer doesn't even have to set this account up. Every person here will get a designated coach. So they actually get a coach who sets their whole system up for them, gives them unlimited support, unlimited training, and just consistently follows up with them to make sure they're happy with the service. Because with our company, we're one of the only SaaS businesses literally in the industry who doesn't have a contract. So we have account managers and coaches in place to make sure that these people are becoming successful, because if they're not happy, then they don't have a job.
So you've mentioned coaches, advisors, services you provide. Is this like all add-on fees and costs? Because that sounds expensive.
Yeah, most people, and if you go to most other businesses or most other SaaS companies, it can get very expensive. With us, it's definitely not. That's the best thing, is we're the most affordable in our industry because we're the only self-funded. Every one of our competitors, that is public knowledge, and there's sites to look this up, but they've all taken investments. We've built this thing from the ground up ourselves, so we've never had to raise our prices in 7 years. During the pandemic, during this time of inflation, let's say, right? We've never had to raise our price one single time, but we continue to add value, continue to add new products and services on top of these plans that can be as little as $59, go to $199 a month. But obviously, anybody who's seeing this today, as you know, if there's anybody who's interested in this form of program or checking this out, it's very easy. You could schedule a demo with me. I'm sure Lance, you'll share the link to that. And you get a promotional price because of Normie. So that's something we do, is we take care of anybody who is a Normie client here.
Well, yeah, and that's something that we've appreciated, and we've had quite a few of our members actually take advantage of that. I don't want to talk specifics on the program that we're offering right now, but I'm sure that anybody that's interested, from our membership can reach out to us to our support at normie.org, and we'll reach out to them and get them all the information they need to sign up for this program. But to me, the exciting part is that this type of a service is out there. And from what you've described and what I've seen from us using it, it's easy to use. You guys do most of the setup, and it just runs from there. We have hundreds and hundreds of reviews. I know we have a lot of members with hundreds of reviews, same kind of thing.
100%. That's what we want. We just want to make sure that we could take off. If you're paying for a service, you don't want to add extra time to that, to your client's plate. You don't need to take extra money from them and then make them have to do the work. So yeah, the whole thing here is taking care of the client, to the basically 99% of the work is done by us, from the setup to the implementation to the actual value of the product, and consistently making sure that it's getting reviews, getting you found, getting you customers, and it's all done for you.
So is there anything new coming to the system that you can't tell us about yet that you're going to tell us about?
So one thing we did just recently launch is like a chat box, and it's auto responsive. That's one of our newest features that I really do enjoy, just because we work with a lot of small business owners, of course. Some of them are owner operator. Some of them have teams from, 5 to 20 people. Well, our chat box gives people a chance to talk to a client that's on the website without having to be there to monitor the website, right? We send them out a text or an email letting them know somebody's there. But if they're not available, or if, it's outside of their business hours, then it just gets their information for them and sends that over to them. One thing too is one thing I will mention, probably should have, is our new dashboard we are launching. It's going to have just more analytics, even easier to navigate. And it's going to integrate with the app too. So those two things are going to be launching to be revamped, redone, and just give the customer a lot more access and make it just easier for them. Okay.
Well, that is new stuff. So if our members wanted to reach out to you for more information, how would they contact you?
The easiest way I would say would be to go to Sotellus.com and go to /Nick. So you just put Sotellus.com /Nick, Nick. It'll take you right to my calendar. You're just going to pick a time that works out best. I'm going to jump on a one-on-one meeting with you. I'll answer any questions that you have. I can break down the whole product and just show you how it all works.
But to get the best price, they're going to have to let you know they're an active Normie member.
100%. You need to let us know that you're Normie, because you get a massive discount here when you come from Normie. So if you don't mention it, I'm just letting you know that if it's me, or if you end up talking to one of my other sales guys on my team, you're going to end up paying about double the amount if you don't mention Normie.
Well, we appreciate that. Nick, I appreciate you spending time with us. Anything else in closing you think our members should know about?
I think we're all good. Just, again, make sure to manage that reputation. Keep getting reviews, guys. Don't set a limit on that. A lot of people think once you get a certain amount of reviews, it's great. Just a statistic to remember, 85% of people will disregard reviews older than 3 months old. So if you don't have a system in place and an automated process to consistently get new reviews and build your reputation, eventually you fall by the wayside, right? Or your competitors start to outrank you and outshine you. So I just say, make sure, if you're not using a system like us, you need to find a way to consistently get new reviews.
Wait. So you just said something there about reviews older than 3 months kind of like fall away. I mean, I know I've gone on sites and you see people with reviews from 2006, 2010. I mean, they have some value, at least they show you've been in business, but
Right.
What's the dynamic change for current reviews?
So I don't mean the reviews fall by the wayside. What I was saying is that your listing does, though. Your listing stops ranking. Your listing will lose its ranking. It will continue to stay stagnant if you don't consistently capture reviews. So the reason behind this, just it's a very easy statistic to go Google. I actually have one that I can share with you that you can feel free to post, but it just shows that 85% of consumers, right, that's when they check out reviews, if they're older than 90 days old, they tend to disregard them, because the whole purpose is this. Maybe you had 200 reviews in the first 5 years of being open or something, right? Or you have 500 total reviews right now, but you haven't gotten a new review in the past 90 days. Well, what happens is people question that. What has now changed in that business in these last 3 months? What is there a difference in quality? Did they sell it? Is there a new management? People start to question, why are they not getting the same positive feedback over the last 90 days that they were getting prior? And I think that's and I don't disagree with them. I think that's a very valuable question for them to ask, is because if you were getting so much positive feedback before, why aren't you now?
Well, that makes sense. And that clarifies my question, because I could see value in old reviews being on the site, showing a history,
Right.
But it makes a lot of sense if you're not getting anything current. All right. I appreciate you spending the time with us. I want to thank you. I'd encourage everybody watching this to either reach out to us at support@normie.org or to contact Nick directly at Sotellus.com/Nick.
Yeah, /Nick. Make sure to put the /.
/. All right. Thank you very much, Nick.
No problem, Lance. Thank you.
When you start on the pathway toward professional success, you have to know what the goal is and how to get there. Normie exists to help in that process. It's not just about taking a class to get a license, but also about starting on a pathway to professional success. Whether you want to work for yourself or be the best qualified employee on the team, this path will take you there and help you succeed. Pick a track, click on the class, and get your journey started. Normie is here to support you all the way to become the Normie Pro professional you want to be.
Welcome everybody to today's episode, Fire More Than Flames and Smoke. And this is a multi-part series being offered by Normie.tv. It's also available on numerous other platforms, and you can find that at normie.org. I want to welcome today's guest, Dr. Gavin McGregor Skinner, who is the Senior Director from ISSA, and he is also a senior leader in the GBAC organization, which is a Global Biorisk Advisory Council. Gavin, say hello.
Yeah, hi, Lance. How are you today?
Good. And if I missed on the actual titles, please correct me and fill us in a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, no, Lance. So I work for ISSA, the Worldwide Cleaning Industry Association, and I manage the team with the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, which is a division of ISSA. I'm also an associate professor, Lance, at the Penn State College of Medicine. I've been working with Penn State since 2011. I teach 3 graduate courses, 3 15-week courses on biological risk management.
Well, that is exactly what we need to be talking about today. And with that, I want to bring up an image real quick. So I want to talk about short-term health effects for people exposed to the wildfires that have drifted down here into the U.S. and central and the eastern coast. And these images I want to show you are what took place over a 3 to 4 day period. Now, this was, I can tell you, here in New Jersey, because I took the pictures myself, but this was mid-afternoon, and it looks like sunset. So give me a moment, and I'll bring this up on the screen so everybody can see what we're actually talking about, especially if you didn't get the opportunity to experience this. Are you able to see the images?
Yes, I can, Lance.
Well, as you can see, these are sunset-looking type of images in the middle of the day with no clouds. Extremely thick smoke conditions, and this smoke was coming from probably up to 1,000 miles away up in Canada, all the way down to the coastal area of New Jersey. Now, from the reports and everything we got, it was even worse through the state of New York, Pennsylvania, which is closer to the Canadian border. So as far as health effects go, and I do want to mention one other thing. You've seen these images. I want to show you something graphical that we can then talk about. This was graphical data that I captured outside my home, actually, over a week period. You can see leading up to where the spiking started on the graph that the outside levels of particulates and volatile organic compounds, VOCs, or the chemistries in the air, are very low. And then you could see it all of a sudden started to spike on the first day, and then it was kind of an up and down to where it got really bad by the third day. And then after that, it started to settle out and move on. So the images that you saw before this is graphical data talking about particulates at 2.5 microns, 10 microns, and 1 or sub-micron size particulates, which really can affect people's health. So as far as short-term effects, how do you see that?
Well, what's really interesting, Lance, is that if you go back to that period of time, I think when I woke up on the Wednesday here in Washington, D.C., and your photos actually captured that very clearly, there was a lot of smoke in the air. And we knew the fires were in Canada. Who would have thought that I would wake up in Washington, D.C., and suddenly I realized the air that I breathe or am breathing today came from Canada? And you don't think at a local level, at the neighborhood level, where does the air come from that I breathe? We think it all is generated locally, but it wasn't there. This air that I was breathing here in Washington, D.C. on that Wednesday was coming from Canada. Why? Because the smoke showed that to me. It visualized it. It showed me that the fires in Canada were sending smoke down the east coast of the US. And I think everyone needs to understand smoke anywhere is just bad for the human body. It also affects animals, no matter how healthy a person is or how long they're exposed to. Smoke exposure is just bad. And we need to understand, what does that bad mean? So if I look at, what were the messages going out from when the photos that you took, Lance, showing the sun blocked out, showing all that smoke in the air, what were the key messages being delivered to the public, the community? And we're very fortunate because, here's my phone. On my phone here, I have a number of apps. We have there's a lot of apps that are available that can make you aware of outdoor air quality. Not very many, I think very few people would have apps on their phone for indoor air quality, but we have a lot of apps for outdoor air quality. And on my phone, I use the weather app. It's free. And if I click on the weather app for Washington, D.C., I can see what the air quality is, and it's monitored, and it's called the Air Quality Index, or AQI. So again, the weather app has it. It's online. Many other apps use the Air Quality Index. And we know that the Air Quality Index around about 50 or less is considered healthy. We also know that sensitive and vulnerable people might notice ill effects to their health at levels as low as 51. And we know that from that air quality index, levels at 150 or greater are considered unhealthy for everyone. So what we saw, this air quality index uses 6 different color schemes. But Lance, when I do my hazards identification, my risk assessments, I usually stick to the traffic light system, red, yellow, green, because that's universal. Everyone understands what red, yellow, green means. When you bring in other colors, it can be confusing. What is orange? What is purple? What is violet? That sort of thing. So there's 6 colors in the air quality index, and we started seeing maps on the news, on TV, on the websites, in newspapers, in the general media and social media. And a lot of people didn't understand what those 6 colors meant. But again, what we want to be really clear here, a level at 150 or above on the air quality index is considered unhealthy for everyone. And what we saw for the smoke from Canada, places like New York, Washington, D.C., other locations went up into the 300s, even the 400s. And this air quality index, Lance, only goes to 500. It stops at 500. So when we saw the numbers up into 400s, that's never happened before. That's setting new records for many of those locations.
I guess the way you could equate that is when we actually deal with indoor air quality and we get particulate counts and mold in the environment and extremely high, it's almost like breathing soup.
Yep.
It's that thick. And the